Science is real, from the Big Bang to DNA. Science is real, from evolution to the Milky Way.
See this?
I like those stories about angels, unicorns, and elves. Now I like those stories as much as anybody else.
Okay, welcome. My name is Don Baker, and today we're having a conversation with Dr. Victor J. Stenger. Dr. Stenger is a professor emeritus of physics and astronomy at the University of Hawaii and an adjunct professor of philosophy at the University of Colorado. He's the author of 9 books in the areas of science and reason, and we're going to chat with him today about some of the topics in his books, Science and Reason. This show is a production of the atheist community of Austin. We are a nonprofit organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We have a weekly live call-in show, TV show, called The Atheist Experience that is geared to the general audience and airs on Sundays on cable at 4:30 p.m. We also have a bi-weekly internet radio show called The Nonprofits, which is geared more to an atheist audience. Please check those out on our website, which is atheist-community.org. Okay, today we have Dr. Victor Stenger, who received a PhD in physics from UCLA in 1963, then took a position at the faculty of the University of Hawaii, retiring to Colorado in 2000. His current position is adjunct professor of philosophy at the University of Colorado and emeritus professor of physics at the University of Hawaii. Dr. Stenger has also held positions in the faculties of the University of Heidelberg in Germany, Oxford in England, and has been a visiting researcher at the Rutherford University in England, the National Nuclear Physics Laboratory in Frascati, Italy, and the University of Florence in Italy. So he's been around a bit. Dr. Stenger's research career has spanned a period of great progress in elementary particle physics that ultimately led to the current standard model. He participated in experiments that helped establish the properties of strange particles, quarks, gluons, neutrinos, and he has helped pioneer the emerging fields of very high energy gamma ray and neutrino astronomy. His latest project before retiring, Dr. Stenger collaborated with the underground experiments in Japan that showed for the first time that the neutrino has mass. This project leader received a Nobel Prize in Physics for his work in 2002, and Vic was one of many people helping with that experiment. Vic Stenger has a parallel career as an author of 9 critically acclaimed popular level books on the interface between physics, cosmology, philosophy, religion, and pseudoscience. His 2007 book, God, the Failed Hypothesis, How Science Shows That God Does Not Exist, was a New York Times bestseller. That's what this book looks like. His book, Quantum Gods, came out earlier this year, which we also have right here. And his latest book is The New Atheism, Taking a Stand for Science and Reason. And Vic is running around the United States on a bit of a book tour. Welcome. We're so thrilled to have you.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, well, great. Well, great. So, I'm kind of a science fan, and I thought I'd, come and ask you a number of questions that I think our audience would be interested in and topics that you've written about. And why don't we just get started? My first question, paleontologist Stephen Jay Gould characterized science and religion as non-overlapping magisteria. You've certainly heard that. Where science concerns the explanations of the natural world and religion concerns supernatural explanations and maybe morality. I got a chance to ask Dr. Gould before he died about the persistence of creationists in one of his lectures here in Austin. Gould, I think, was tired of the battles with the creationists and wanted to do science without interference. And I think that may be the motivation behind why he proposed this idea. And various people have taken issue with this separation idea that Gould has proposed. The John Templeton Foundation, for example, has given grants to scientists who promote religious ideas through science, right? But in your books, you've taken the opposite stance. You're kind of the opposite of that, And you've argued that science does have a lot to say about religious claims, but you've reached a different conclusion. Can you maybe expand on?
Well, certainly Stephen Jay Gould had good intentions, as you say. When he wrote this book, he wanted to try to put an end to this sort of appears to be endless war between science and religion. And so he tried to basically redefine the two, and I think that's where practically all the critics, I'm not the only one who has been critical of that book, for the reason that he wasn't accepting science and religion for what they are, but really trying to redefine them, especially redefining religion as sort of moral philosophy. So if religion did nothing but deal with morals, then this might work. But even then, I don't think it can work, because morals, after all, have to do with human behavior, and human behavior is an observable phenomenon, and so science has a role in considering moral issues, and of course, religion has, from time immemorial, had something to say about the natural world, the creation, and where how life was formed, and everything else about the world. Most religions, at least the main religions that people worship in this part of the world, Christianity and Islam and the Abrahamic religions and Judaism, all take the position that God is there creating every day. So I think it just didn't work, but it was a noble attempt.
Okay, but you're in most of your writings, you've focused on the fact that science can say something about religious claims, right?
Well, you see, there are a lot of scientists who Gould's arguments have appealed to. A lot of non-believing scientists will, as well as believing scientists, I might say, have liked Gould's idea.
Because it gets them off the hook, right? They don't have to argue with the believers.
Right, and the non-believers can, the believers, let's start with them. The believers can go ahead and worship their God on a Sunday and then go to work on a Monday. And if they say this believer is a scientist, I guarantee you that scientist will work the rest of the week in his laboratory, never once bringing up the question of God as an explanation. So they're able to separate the two off in their own minds. So in their own minds, they do this, and non-believing scientists as well, to a great degree, find this a very useful concept, because they don't want to get into trouble with religious people. They don't want to lose their funding, which is the most important thing to research scientists, is the funding. And the last thing they want to do is lose that, and they also don't want to have the issue of creationism raising its head again. So they bring that up. But the fact is that, I should mention that the national, let's consider the National Academy of Sciences, which is the largest group of elite scientists in the country. It is the group of elite scientists. And back in 1998, a poll was taken that showed that only 7% of the members of the National Academy of Sciences believed in a personal God. Exactly the opposite of the general public. So these scientists, the members of the Academy, are atheists, let's face it. And yet they have put out statements saying that science has nothing to say about religion. They want to keep it separate, that science and religion are separate issues, when in fact they're ignoring what's going on all around them. I mean, there are groups of scientists, well-established scientists, scientists from elite universities like Johns Hopkins and Harvard and Duke, have been doing experiments on the efficacy of prayer, which certainly bears on the question of the existence of God. Or at least of some kind of supernatural power. If they showed that prayer healed the sick, and they were good experiments, you'd have to believe. I would have to believe. I'm a scientist, and I go where the data tell me to go, and the data so far have been negative, with no evidence that prayer does any good. And these scientists, incidentally, who've done these experiments are mostly believers. They're not skeptics. They're mostly believers, but they're good scientists, and they've done good experiments. And so far, their results have indicated pretty strongly that prayer has no obvious effect, no clear effect on anything.